This is absolutely insane. I literally cannot believe what I just uncovered. For weeks, the wrestling world has been going crazy trying to figure out who the mystery attacker was. Every theory, every speculation, every wild guess, and nobody got it right. But here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. The attacker revealed themselves at Snme, and when you hear who it is and why they did it, you're going to understand why this entire angle was the most calculated, manipulative, and genius-level chess move in wrestling history. But before we dive into this absolute madness, I need to know something from you guys. Who did you think the attacker was before the reveal? Drop your original guess in the comments. I'm genuinely curious if anyone predicted this correctly, because I've been covering this story for 3 weeks straight, and even I had it completely wrong. Seriously though, this revelation doesn't just change one storyline. It fundamentally shatters everything we thought we knew about this person's character, their motivations, and their entire trajectory in this company. And the most infuriating part? They were right in front of us the entire time. Let me take you back to where this all started, because you need the full context to appreciate just how perfectly executed this reveal actually was. 3 weeks ago, right in the middle of prime-time wrestling, a superstar was brutally attacked backstage. I'm talking chairs, I'm talking intensity, I'm talking about the kind of assault that leaves you questioning everything you thought you knew about safety and security in that locker room. The attack happened so fast that nobody got a clear look at the perpetrator. Cameras conveniently went out. Security footage was mysteriously corrupted. It was like watching a Hollywood thriller unfold in real time, except this was supposedly happening in professional wrestling where everything is supposed to be predictable and choreographed. Here's what infuriated the community: the mystery itself. Not knowing who did it created this insane vacuum of speculation. For 3 full weeks, literally every wrestler was a suspect. The guy who was attacked? Immediately people started pointing fingers at everyone from his rivals to people who had zero beef with him. It was chaos. Pure, unadulterated chaos. The wrestling media couldn't get enough of it either. Every podcast, every YouTube channel, every wrestling forum was buzzing with theories. Some people thought it was someone trying to take that person out of commission for a pay-per-view match. Others thought it was character development for someone who needed a heel turn. And then there were the wild theories, the ones that involved betrayal, mind games, and levels of psychological warfare that seemed too complex even for wrestling storylines. But here's what really got people angry. The company didn't give us any answers. Day after day, nothing. No clues, no hints, no subtle character changes that might point to who the attacker was. It was intentionally vague, and whether you loved it or hated it, you couldn't look away. And that's the genius part. That's the part that makes this revelation so powerful. They kept us in the dark on purpose. They wanted every single fan theorizing, debating, arguing, and sharing their ideas. They wanted you coming back day after day to see if there were any new developments. They wanted this mystery to become the most talked about wrestling story of the entire month. But which current or former wrestlers were the main suspects everyone kept talking about? Drop your top 3 suspects from the mystery angle in the comments below. I genuinely want to know which theories were gaining the most traction in your corner of the wrestling community. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Once the reveal happened at Snme, I immediately went back and watched everything again. I'm talking about rewatching interviews, checking body language, analyzing every single appearance this person made during those 3 weeks of mystery. And let me tell you, there were clues. So many clues that we were all collectively blind to see them. The first clue was behavioral. In the week leading up to the attack, this person was acting completely different. They weren't their usual self in promos. There was this underlying aggression that seemed out of character. At the time, people chalked it up to selling something they were working through backstage, but looking back now, it was clearly this person building psychological justification for what they were about to do. The second clue was visual. There were 2 distinct occasions where this person was in the same area backstage as the victim, and both times the camera caught this weird hesitation. Like they were contemplating something. Like they were on the edge of making a massive decision. But we were so focused on looking for obvious confrontations that we completely missed these subtle moments of internal struggle. The third clue, and this is the one that absolutely enrages me that we missed it, was in the timing. The attack happened at a very specific time, right after a particular event in the show. And when you actually pay attention to that timing and think about what this person's motivation was, it all makes perfect sense. They were capitalizing on a moment of weakness. They were striking when the iron was hot because they knew the window of opportunity was closing. But the most brilliant clue of all? It was hidden in plain sight in an interview this person did about 3 days before the attack. They were talking about respect, about standing up for themselves, about not being disrespected anymore. Everyone watching thought they were just building a storyline for an upcoming match. But they were literally telling us what they were about to do. They were telegraphing their motivations in coded language that only made sense after the reveal. This is why the wrestling fans online are absolutely losing it. Because it means the company, the creative team, and this performer were all operating on a level of sophistication that most fans didn't give them credit for. This wasn't a lazy reveal. This wasn't a random choice made at the last second. This was planned. This was intentional. This was chess-level storytelling. And here's the question I want you to wrestle with in the comments. Did you catch any of these clues while the mystery was still ongoing, or did they only make sense once you knew who the attacker was? Because I'm willing to bet most of us are in that second category. I'm willing to bet we were all so caught up in the wild theories that we missed the breadcrumbs right in front of us. Let me paint the picture of what went down at Snme. This was the Saturday night's main event that everyone knew would be significant because there was this underlying tension that the answer might finally come. The ratings were absolutely massive because of it. People were tuning in hoping that this would be the night the mystery was solved. But the show started completely normally. Match after match happened, and there was no sign of any big revelation. People were getting frustrated. They were taking to social media saying things like, "Are they actually going to reveal this tonight?" The anticipation was building to a fever pitch. And then came the segment that changed everything. The victim was in the ring, cutting a promo about the attack, about not knowing who did it, about feeling paranoid and on edge. The crowd was completely silent, absorbing every word. This was high-level emotional storytelling. And then the lights cut out. When they came back on, the attacker was standing in the ring, microphone in hand, ready to reveal themselves and their motivations. And when they started talking, when they explained exactly why they did what they did, it was like watching a puzzle come together. Every piece fit. Every motivation was clear. Every reason made sense. But here's what makes people furious about this moment. The attacker wasn't some random person. It wasn't someone we barely knew. It wasn't some job guy trying to make a name for himself. It was someone with genuine history with the victim. It was someone whose motivations were complex and layered, and actually rooted in legitimate storyline development that had been building for months. This revelation essentially made every fan reevaluate months' worth of previous footage. Suddenly, interactions that seemed innocent had sinister undertones. Conversations that seemed casual were actually loaded with tension. And the attacker's previous actions now looked like they were leading to this moment all along. The crowd's reaction at Snme was absolute shock, followed by intense heat. People were booing, people were cheering, people were completely confused about how to feel. Because this wasn't just a simple reveal. This was character assassination. This was a turn so devastating that it recontextualized everything about both wrestlers' previous interactions. And the wrestling world erupted. Twitter was melting down. Reddit threads were getting thousands of comments in minutes. Every wrestling podcast was scrambling to put together episodes discussing the implications of this revelation. Because now everyone understood that they'd just witnessed next-level storytelling. Here's what I want to know. When the attacker revealed themselves at Snme, what was your immediate gut reaction? Were you shocked? Were you angry? Were you impressed by the storytelling? Comment below because I genuinely think the answer to this question says a lot about how you consume wrestling content and what you're looking for in these stories. Okay, so now let's dig into the actual motivations behind the attack, because this is where the storyline transcends simple violence and becomes something actually meaningful. The attacker's explanation revealed a web of resentment, disrespect, and broken trust that had been festering for a long time. According to their own words, the victim had been repeatedly overlooking them, dismissing them and treating them like they weren't worthy of respect despite everything they'd done to prove themselves. And the attacker reached a breaking